The night was cold. Not the kind of cold a blanket could fight, but the kind of cold that cut into the bones and stole the breath from the lungs. Snow stretched across the alien world like an endless white sea, and the wind howled through the broken hills like a monster searching for prey. In that frozen wasteland, a small figure struggled forward. Her feet sank into the snow, her body shivered, and her arms trembled under the heavy weight she carried. It was a little alien girl. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark, and she had small ridges along her forehead that showed her young age. But she was not thinking of herself. She was thinking only of the woman in her arms, her mother. The mother's body was stiff, her lips frozen, her breathing so weak it seemed like every breath might be her last. The girl stumbled, fell to her knees, and cried out into the night. No answer came. No one lived out here. The cold was merciless, and no one ever dared to travel so far into the wasteland. Yet she pushed herself back to her feet. Her mother's life was all that mattered, and then she saw it, a faint light in the distance. At first, she thought it was a trick of her frozen eyes, but no, it was real. A human explorer's ship stood on the ice field, half hidden by the storm. Its lights blinked like stars, a sign of warmth and safety. The girl's heart raced. She had been warned many times. Never go to the humans. Never ask for their help. It was the first law of her people. To ask a human for help was to betray her kind, and the punishment was exile. But her mother was dying. Rules did not matter anymore. The little girl gathered all her strength and dragged her mother toward the ship. The snow clung to her legs, the wind slapped her face, but she did not stop. Finally, she reached the metal door. She placed her mother gently on the ground and pounded her small fists against the door with desperation. Human, please. My mom is dying, she cried, her voice cracking with fear and pain. Inside the ship, the human heard the sound. He had been preparing to leave the frozen planet when the knocking reached his ears. At first, he thought it was nothing but the storm, but then he heard the voice. A child's voice, desperate, pleading. He frowned. It was dangerous to answer calls from strangers on alien worlds. Many times smugglers and thieves used tricks to lure humans outside. But there was something different in that voice. Something raw. Something real. Slowly he walked to the door and opened a small screen to see outside. His eyes widened. A little alien girl stood there, snow on her face, tears in her glowing eyes. Beside her lay an alien woman, unmoving, barely breathing. The human's heart tightened. He knew the law. He knew what would happen if he interfered. The Galactic Council had strict rules. Humans were not allowed to heal alien bodies. No human hand must alter alien life, the law said. To break that rule was to risk death or worse. For a moment he hesitated. He could close the door, pretend he never heard her. He could leave the planet and no one would ever know. But then he saw the girl's eyes. They were not the eyes of a trickster. They were not the eyes of an enemy. They were the eyes of a child who was about to lose everything. Please, the girl whispered, her hands pressed against the glass. Please save her. You're human. You can do anything. Please help my mom. The human stood frozen. His mind screamed no, but his heart whispered yes. He thought of his own mother, long gone. He thought of the nights when he was small, when someone had held him and kept him safe. Could he really turn away now? The snowstorm howled louder, as if demanding his answer. The alien woman coughed weakly, her chest rising and falling like a dying flame. The girl's small body shook as she tried to cover her mother with her arms, but she was too little to keep the cold away. Finally, the human pressed the door release. The heavy door slid open with a hiss. Warmth spilled out into the night. The girl gasped in relief and pulled her mother toward the opening. Quick, bring her in, the human said, kneeling down to help. His voice was rough, but his eyes were gentle. Together, they carried the alien woman inside. The warmth of the ship wrapped around them, but the danger was not over. The mother's skin was icy, her breath shallow. She was hanging on by a thread. The girl looked up at the human, her lips trembling. You'll save her, right? The human's jaw tightened. He knew this was only the beginning of a dangerous road. If he tried to save her, he would be breaking the most important law of the galaxy. But looking at the girl, shivering and desperate, he could not bring himself to say no. He put a hand on her shoulder and nodded. I'll try. The girl's eyes filled with hope, but outside the storm continued to roar. And in the shadows of the galaxy, the law was waiting. The alien woman lay on the metal bed inside the human ship. Her skin had turned pale, almost gray, and her chest rose in shallow, broken breaths. The heat of the cabin was slowly chasing away the frost, but it was not enough. Hypothermia had already sunk its claws deep into her body. The little alien girl clutched her mother's frozen hand, tears running down her cheeks. "Please, please don't let her die," she whispered, her small voice shaking. The human stood near the bed, arms crossed tightly. His mind was a storm of thoughts. He knew what was happening to her. Her lungs were shutting down from the cold, her body unable to pull in enough oxygen. If he did nothing, she would die within the hour. He also knew something else. The law. Every human explorer learned it before leaving Earth. The Galactic Council's decree: no human shall alter or heal alien life. To do so is to break the balance of the galaxy. The punishment was severe. If the Council found out, he could lose his ship, his freedom, maybe even his life. He stared at the alien woman. He stared at the girl, her glowing eyes red from crying, and he felt a weight crushing his chest. The girl noticed his silence. She looked up at him, fear flickering in her face. You're not going to help, are you?" The human turned away, pacing the small cabin. His boots thudded against the metal floor. "If I interfere," he muttered, more to himself than to her, "the Council will come. They'll scan my ship. They'll know what I did." The girl's tears came harder. She threw herself in front of him, blocking his path. "But she'll die. Please, human, she's all I have. I don't care about your council. I don't care about their laws." Her small fists pounded weakly against his chest, but her eyes begged him with a power greater than words. The human caught her hands gently, lowering them. He looked into her face. "Do you understand what you're asking me? If I do this, I'll be hunted. They don't forgive humans who break the law." The girl shook her head furiously. "I don't care. I don't care if they punish me too. Just save her, please." The cabin was silent except for the weak, broken breaths of the mother. The sound filled the space like a ticking clock, each second pulling her closer to death. The human closed his eyes. He remembered a different time, when he was young and his own mother had fallen ill on Earth. Doctors said they could do nothing. He had watched her fade away while rules and limits kept others from helping. That memory had never left him. His fists clenched. His heart burned. He could not watch another mother die in front of a child. Not again. He opened his eyes and said firmly, "I don't care about the law either." The girl froze, her tears stopping mid-fall. You mean it?" The human nodded. "If saving her makes me an enemy of the galaxy, then so be it." The girl let out a sob of relief and hugged him tightly. Her small arms squeezed around his waist, and for the first time since she appeared at his door, hope lit her eyes, but hope came with danger. The human walked to the control panel and quickly shut down the ship's outside lights. He activated the shielding system, making the vessel appear like a lifeless chunk of ice to any patrol drone scanning nearby. "If they're watching, maybe they won't notice," he muttered. He returned to the bed, pulling over a scanner. A faint green light washed over the alien woman's body. Numbers and readings blinked across the screen. Her body temperature was critically low, and her lungs were collapsing. He cursed under his breath. "She doesn't just need heat," he said grimly. "Her lungs are failing. If I don't fix that, she won't last." The girl gripped the edge of the bed, her knuckles white. "Then fix them. You can do it, right? Humans can do anything." The human gave her a tired look. "Not anything, but maybe enough." He set the scanner down, already planning in his mind. His ship carried spare medical tools, nanotech samples, and biogel designed for human emergencies. It was never meant for aliens, but maybe, just maybe, he could adapt it. As he began pulling out equipment, a warning light blinked on the wall. His stomach dropped. A patrol drone was flying near the ship. The girl gasped. "They'll find out?" He glanced at her, his jaw tight. "If they scan and see I'm altering her biology, yes. They'll know instantly." The drone passed by, its hum faint through the walls before fading into the storm. The warning light disappeared. The human exhaled slowly, sweat on his forehead. "We don't have much time. If they come back, I won't be able to hide what I'm doing." The girl moved closer, clutching his arm. Her voice was soft but full of fire. "Then do it fast. Please, human, save her." He looked at the dying woman once more. Her chest barely moved, her life slipping away like sand through fingers. And he made his choice. He set the tools down beside her and whispered, "Then we break the law." The girl's eyes widened, a mix of fear and hope. She held her mother's hand tightly as if preparing for a miracle. The human leaned over the alien mother, his hand steady now. In the storm outside, the galaxy waited to see if one man's forbidden act of compassion would change everything. The cabin was quiet except for the weak sound of the alien mother's breathing. Every rise and fall of her chest was a battle, every breath a war. The human leaned over her with the scanner again, watching the numbers dip lower and lower. He felt time slipping through his fingers like water. "She's fading," he muttered. The little alien girl gripped his sleeve tightly, her glowing eyes wide with terror. "You said you'd save her. You promised." He didn't answer right away. His mind was racing. He had wrapped the woman in heat blankets, increased the cabin temperature, and even given her oxygen, but her lungs were collapsing. The cold had frozen her internal tissue. No amount of heat alone would repair the damage. The girl shook his arm again. "Don't stop. Don't let her go." He finally turned to her, his eyes sharp but kind. "Listen to me. If I only warm her body, she will die anyway. Her lungs, they are broken. She cannot breathe on her own anymore." The girl's face twisted with pain. She fell to her knees beside the bed, holding her mother's icy hand. "Then make her new ones. You're human. You build things. You fix things. Make her new lungs." The human froze. The words hit him like a spark, new lungs. It was madness. No human had ever built an alien organ before. Even for human patients, it took years of research and perfect labs. He was just one man in a lonely ship, far from Earth. And worse, the Galactic Council had systems that could detect when a human tried to merge their technology with alien biology. Doing this would not only break the law, it would scream to the galaxy that he had done it. Still, the girl's words dug into him. Humans were builders, problem solvers, survivors. Wasn't that what set them apart? The girl looked up at him again, her voice trembling but fierce. "You told me you don't care about the law. Then prove it, please. Make her lungs. Make her breathe again." The human looked down at the dying woman. Her chest rose shallowly like a candle about to burn out. His heart pounded. His hands shook, but then his fear shifted into something else. A spark of defiance. "Maybe," he whispered. "Maybe I can." The girl gasped, hope flashing in her eyes. "You can do it?" He didn't answer. Instead, he stood and walked to the back of the ship. He opened a large metal case, revealing tools and parts, spare components meant for emergency repairs on the ship. Nanofilaments, oxygen filters, biogel packs, microtubes. Useless junk for most, but maybe, just maybe, they could become something greater. The girl followed him, clutching her hands together. "What are you doing?" He glanced at her. Something impossible. Piece by piece, he laid the parts on the workbench. A filtration mesh meant for recycling air, a pump designed for water circulation, biogel to keep tissue alive. He began to imagine them differently, as if his mind were sketching an idea in the air. "Artificial lungs," he said softly. "Not human lungs. Not alien lungs. Something between. Something her body might accept long enough to live." The girl's eyes widened. "You mean, you can really make them?" His lips pressed into a tight line. "I don't know, but it's her only chance." For the next hour, the cabin filled with the sounds of clattering tools and humming machines. The human worked with precision, his fingers moving fast, his brow damp with sweat. He connected tubes, fused metal with organic gel, and programmed nanotech to adapt the system. The girl stayed close, watching with wonder. Sometimes she handed him tools when he asked. Sometimes she whispered small prayers in her own alien language as if her words could guide his hands. At last, he stepped back. On the table lay a strange creation, small, fragile, and glowing faintly with blue light. It was no ordinary machine. It looked alive, pulsing gently, as if breathing on its own. The girl gasped. "It's beautiful." The human shook his head. "It's dangerous. If her body rejects it, she will die faster." The girl's voice was steady now, though her eyes were wet with tears. "She is dying already. This is the only chance," he nodded grimly. "You're right." He lifted the artificial lungs carefully, the glow casting shadows across his face. He carried them to the bed, where the alien mother still fought for breath. Her chest rose weakly, each inhale a struggle. The human placed the device beside her and prepared the instruments. His heart pounded louder than the storm outside. He was not just breaking the law, he was rewriting it. The girl stood beside him, clutching her mother's hand. Will it hurt her? Yes, the human admitted, but pain means life. No pain means she's already gone. The girl swallowed hard and nodded. The human took a deep breath, steadying his hands. He leaned over the alien mother, his tools ready. He whispered to himself, not as a mechanic, not as a soldier, but as a man standing on the edge of history. Then let's give her new breath, and with that, he began. The storm outside roared like an angry beast, shaking the human ship with icy winds. But inside, the cabin glowed with strange light. On the workbench, the artificial lungs pulsed faintly. A mix of machine and biology, like a newborn heart waiting to beat. The human stood over the alien woman, tools in his hands, sweat dripping down his forehead. He had already made the first incisions, his movements careful, almost reverent. The alien girl sat close by, clutching her mother's hand tightly. Her small, glowing eyes never left the human's face. She whispered, "Please, don't stop. She's still here. I can feel it." The human gave her a quick glance, then returned to his work. "I won't stop. But this has never been done before. If her body fights back too hard, I might lose her." The girl pressed her forehead against her mother's cold arm. "She's strong. Stronger than me. She'll fight to stay if you give her the chance." Her words gave him strength. His hands steadied. He carefully placed the artificial lungs into the chest cavity, connecting the first tubes. The device glowed brighter as it sensed warmth from living tissue. The human's breath caught. "It's accepting the link." For a moment, hope surged in the room. But then the alien mother's body shuddered violently. Her chest convulsed, her breathing turned ragged. The glowing lines on the lungs flickered like a candle in the wind. The girl cried out, "What's happening?" "She's rejecting it," the human said quickly, his voice sharp with tension. "Her body thinks it's an intruder." He scrambled for the nanotech vial, pulling out a thin injector. His hands moved fast, releasing billions of microscopic machines into her veins. "Come on, adapt, adapt," he muttered under his breath. The girl's tears ran faster. "Don't let her go, human, please." The human felt the weight of her plea pressing against his chest. He thought of all the times humanity had been called weak by the galaxy. Too emotional, too reckless, too fragile. Yet here he was, trying something no alien dared. Slowly, the nanotech began weaving with the artificial lungs. The flickering light steadied, then pulsed stronger. The alien mother's chest rose, smoother now, her breaths less broken. The girl gasped, her small hands covering her mouth. "She's breathing. She's really breathing." The human let out a shaky sigh. "Not yet. This is only the start. Her body might still turn against it." He adjusted the connections, sealing the device with biogel. The cabin filled with the soft hum of the machine syncing with living tissue. The alien mother's skin began to show faint color again, the icy blue fading to something warmer. The girl leaned forward, her face close to her mother's. "Mom, can you hear me?" The woman didn't answer, but her breathing grew steadier. It was fragile, but it was life. The human finally stepped back, wiping his brow with the back of his sleeve. His voice was calm but firm. "The lungs are working. If her body keeps accepting them, she'll live." The girl's eyes shone with tears of relief. She threw her small arms around him, hugging him tight. "Thank you, human." "Thank you." He stiffened for a moment, unaccustomed to such sudden affection, then gently placed a hand on her back. "Don't thank me yet. We're not safe." The girl pulled away, blinking. "What do you mean?" He pointed to the blinking red light on the wall. "Every time I use nanotech, there's a chance the Galactic Council's sensors picked up the signal. If they're scanning the sector, they'll know what I've done." Fear flickered across the girl's face. "They'll come here?" "They always come," he said quietly. The girl's grip on his arm tightened. "Then we hide her." "We hide everything. They can't take you. You saved us." The human looked at her. This small creature who had defied her own people's laws to save her mother. She was braver than most adults he had met. For the first time, he allowed himself a small smile. "We'll try." He turned back to the woman, checking the readings again. The numbers were climbing, her oxygen level, her heart rhythm, her body temperature. For now, she was alive. The girl sat beside her mother, humming softly in her alien tongue, a lullaby filled with strange but soothing notes. The sound carried through the cabin like a fragile thread of peace. The human listened as he cleaned his tools and secured the workbench. He realized he was no longer just fixing a body. He was building hope for the girl, for the mother, maybe even for humanity itself. But outside, the storm howled on, and in its cry he heard another sound, the echo of approaching danger. The human lowered his voice. If the council finds out, they won't just punish me. They'll punish you and your mother too. The girl stopped humming, her glowing eyes narrowing with determination. Then they must not find out. You are our secret, our miracle. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Then we keep fighting, together. The artificial lungs pulsed again, steady and strong like a heartbeat. The mother's chest rose and fell with new rhythm, each breath a defiance against death. And for the first time since the girl had knocked on his door, the cabin felt alive with something powerful, hope. The cabin was warm, but the air was heavy with fear. The alien mother lay on the bed, her chest moving in a fragile rhythm. The artificial lungs glowed softly beneath her skin, humming like a quiet machine hidden inside her body. For a while, everything seemed calm. The human leaned over the monitors, reading the numbers with sharp eyes. Her oxygen levels were climbing. Her heartbeat was steady. For the first time since the girl had knocked on his door, it looked like the woman might survive. The little alien girl sat beside her mother, stroking her arm gently. She whispered in her alien tongue, songs that sounded like flowing water. She smiled faintly. She's getting better. I can feel it. The human wanted to believe her. He wanted to believe this fight was over. But deep down he knew better. Machines hummed. Warnings blinked faintly on the side of the console. The nanotech was holding for now, but her body was still unstable. One wrong reaction, and the lungs would fail. He whispered to himself. We're walking on the edge of a blade. The girl's ears twitched at his words. What do you mean? He rubbed his face, tired lines cutting across his expression. I mean, her body might still fight back. The lungs are not truly hers. They're strangers. If her immune system turns against them, I can't stop it. The girl's hopeful smile faded. Her eyes turned wet again. No, she can't die now. Not after everything. As if hearing her, the alien mother stirred. Her eyes flickered open for just a second. The girl gasped and leaned close. Mom, it's me, I'm here. The woman's lips moved, but no words came. A shallow breath rattled in her throat before her eyes rolled shut again. The human checked the monitors. The numbers dropped fast. Damn it, she's rejecting them. The girl's small hands clutched her mother's. No! Please stay. Please breathe. The human grabbed his tools and opened the stabilizer kit. Hold her steady! He barked. The girl pressed her tiny body against her mother's arm, trying to keep her still. Please, human, save her. He worked quickly, injecting another stream of nanotech into the veins, recalibrating the lungs with shaking fingers. The glow inside the woman's chest flickered wildly, almost going dark. Come on, he muttered through clenched teeth. The cabin filled with tension. The girl sobbed, her tears falling onto the bed. The mother convulsed, her breathing shallow and broken. The monitors screamed with alarms, then suddenly the glow steadied. The lungs pulsed again, stronger this time, forcing air into her body. The numbers on the screen rose slowly back to safe levels. The human exhaled, his shoulders dropping. She's stable. For now. The girl collapsed against her mother's chest, crying into her clothes. Thank you. But the relief didn't last long. A sharp beeping echoed from the wall console. The human turned, his blood running cold. A red light blinked. Incoming scan detected, his heart sank. The council. The girl looked up, confused. What is it? They've detected the nanotech signals, he said grimly. They're scanning the area. They'll know something unnatural is happening here. The girl's face went pale. They'll take you away. He shook his head bitterly. They won't just take me. They'll destroy everything. The lungs, your mother, maybe even this whole ship. To them, I'm already guilty. The girl grabbed his arm with desperate strength. No, you saved her. You can't let them take you. He thought fast. He activated the stealth systems, drawing power from the engines to cloak the ship against scanners. The lights dimmed. The cabin plunged into half-darkness. The hum of the storm outside grew louder, covering the sound of his frantic work. He rerouted circuits, shut down non-essential systems, and whispered under his breath, Come on. Don't let them see us. The girl crouched by her mother, whispering prayers, her glowing eyes fixed on the ceiling as if expecting soldiers to break through at any second. Minutes crawled by. The scan swept across the sector like an invisible net, searching for signs of forbidden technology. The human held his breath, sweat dripping down his temples. Finally, the red light faded. The warning disappeared. He let out a long sigh. "We're safe. For now." The girl collapsed against him, hugging his side. "I was so scared." He placed a hand on her head, his rough voice softer now. "You were brave. Braver than most adults I've met." But his relief was short-lived. He knew the council's scans were only the beginning. They would return. They always did. He looked at the mother again. Her breathing was steady, but her life still hung on fragile threads. One wrong step, one mistake, and everything he had done would collapse. He whispered to himself, "We're running out of time." The girl didn't hear him. She sat by her mother, humming softly again, her small voice trembling but full of hope. The sound filled the cabin like a fragile shield against the storm and the galaxy beyond. The human closed his eyes for a moment, letting the melody wash over him. It was a reminder of why he was doing this. Not for glory, not for rebellion, but because one little girl believed in him. Still, deep inside, he knew the truth. They were living on borrowed time, and soon the council would come knocking. The storm outside had calmed, but the silence that followed was heavier than thunder. The alien mother rested on the bed, breathing slowly with her new lungs. The little alien girl sat close, her head resting on her mother's arm. She had finally fallen into a light sleep, her face streaked with dried tears. The human sat by the control panel, watching the scanners. He knew the peace would not last. The council always followed the signal trail. He had hidden his work once, but not forever. The galaxy was too sharp, too watchful, and then it came. The scanner screen lit up with a red warning. Vessel detected. The human's stomach dropped. A council ship, larger than his own, faster and armed with the authority of Galactic Law. He shook the girl gently. "Wake up. We have trouble." Her glowing eyes blinked open, confused at first, then wide with fear when she saw the flashing red lights. "They're here?" He nodded grimly. "They've found us." The little girl clutched her mother's hand. "No, they can't take you. They can't take her." Before he could answer, the ship shook violently. A powerful energy beam locked onto them, forcing his vessel still. The sound of metal groaned through the cabin as the council ship pulled them in like prey caught in a net. The human stood tall, his jaw clenched. "Stay behind me," he told the girl. The door hissed open with a blast of cold air. Figures in dark armor marched inside, their glowing visors scanning every corner. Galactic enforcers. At their center stood a tall being robed in silver, the mark of a council judge shining on its chest. Its voice boomed, cold and unforgiving. "Human, you have broken the sacred law." The little girl ran forward, placing herself between the judge and the human, her small arms spread wide. "No, he saved us. He saved my mom." "Don't hurt him." The enforcers froze, startled by her sudden bravery. The judge tilted its head, its voice calm but sharp as a blade. "Child, step aside. The human has interfered with alien life. His crime is beyond forgiveness." The girl shook her head fiercely, her voice trembling but strong. "No, without him she would be dead already. He didn't do it for himself. He did it for us." The judge raised one long hand. The enforcers moved forward. The human placed himself in front of the girl, shielding her with his body. His voice was firm. "If you want me, you'll go through me first." The judge's eyes glowed faintly, unreadable. "You knew the law. You knew the punishment. And yet you chose to defy it. Why?" The human's voice was steady, though his heart raced. "Because I won't stand by and watch a child lose her mother. Because some laws deserve to be broken." A heavy silence fell. The enforcers tightened their grips on their weapons. The girl's voice cut through the air, sharp with tears. "Please, please don't take him." "He's not a criminal. He's a hero." The alien mother stirred on the bed, her new lungs glowing faintly with each breath, her eyes opened slowly, weak but alive. She turned her head toward the commotion, her voice barely more than a whisper. "Stop." The judge's gaze shifted. "You live?" The woman's lips trembled. She forced out the words with all the strength she had left. "Yes, because of him. Because a human broke your law." The cabin held its breath. Even the storm outside seemed to pause. The judge studied the human for a long, tense moment. Then its voice rumbled low. "Compassion is dangerous." Once it spreads, it cannot be undone. The human's jaw tightened. Maybe that's what the galaxy needs. The judge's glowing eyes flickered. For the first time, its voice softened, almost thoughtful. Your defiance may shape more than this child's future. But know this, human. Mercy does not erase guilt. You walk on borrowed time. The enforcers lowered their weapons slowly, waiting for the judge's command. The girl held her breath, trembling. Finally, the judge turned. We will not take him today. The girl gasped in relief and hugged the human's leg tightly. The enforcers backed away, their boots echoing against the metal floor as they left. The door hissed shut, and silence filled the cabin once again. The human let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. His hands shook slightly, not from fear but from the weight of what had just happened. He looked down at the girl still clinging to him. She smiled through her tears. I knew they wouldn't hurt you. You saved her. They had to see it. The human knelt, meeting her eyes. They saw it, yes. But don't forget their words. This isn't over. On the bed, the alien mother whispered weakly, her voice breaking but full of gratitude. Thank you. Human. He gave her a small nod, his heart heavy but fierce. Rest, you're safe for now. But even as he said the words, he knew the truth. The council had let him go, but only as a warning. The next time they might not show mercy. He stood tall, the storm howling again outside, and whispered to himself, Hope may have been born tonight. But so has a war. The cabin was quiet again, but the silence felt different now. The storm outside still roared, yet inside the little ship, something new lingered, something stronger than fear. The alien mother rested on the bed, her breathing slow but steady, the artificial lungs glowing softly under her skin. The little alien girl sat beside her, holding her mother's hand with both of her own. She refused to let go even for a second. Her eyes still carried traces of tears, but now they glowed with a fragile kind of hope. The human stood near the doorway, watching them. His body felt heavy, as though all the weight of the galaxy pressed on his shoulders. The council had left without chains, without punishment, but not without warning. Their words echoed in his mind. Mercy does not erase guilt. You walk on borrowed time. Borrowed time. He exhaled slowly and turned back to the control panel. He had risked everything, his ship, his freedom, his life, to give this family a chance. He did not regret it, but he knew the council would return one day, and next time mercy might not be offered. The girl's voice broke through his thoughts. Human, he turned. She was staring at him with wide eyes. Are you leaving us? His throat tightened. He didn't know how to answer. He had never planned for this moment. I don't know. Maybe I should.
If I stay, they'll only come back stronger. The girl shook her head fiercely.
No, you can't go. You're part of us now. You saved her, you saved me. Her words struck him deeper than any law. He looked at her. This small creature who had knocked on his door with nothing but desperation and courage, and he realized something. In that moment, he was no longer just a human explorer. He had become part of her story. The alien mother stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, weak but aware. She looked at him, her voice faint but clear. You gave me breath again. You gave me back my child. I have nothing to offer in return. The human stepped closer, shaking his head. You don't owe me anything. I didn't do it for reward. I did it because no one deserves to lose their family. The mother's lips curved into the faintest of smiles. Then humanity is greater than the council believes. Her words hung in the air like a spark. The girl sat up straighter, her small voice filled with determination. I'll tell everyone what you did. I'll tell them humans are not enemies, not dangerous. Your hope, the human's eyes hardened. He crouched down in front of her. No, you mustn't tell anyone, not yet. If the council hears, they'll punish you and your mother. They'll erase the truth before it spreads. The girl frowned, her little fists clenched. But the truth should be heard. He placed a hand gently on her shoulder. One day, yes. But not today. Today, you stay alive. That is the greatest truth we can protect. The girl lowered her head but nodded slowly. He stood again, turning toward the storm outside. Through the small window, he could see the faint glow of the council ship fading into the distance. For now they were gone, but the galaxy had changed tonight even if it didn't know it yet. He whispered more to himself than anyone. One act of kindness can start a fire, and once it burns, no council can put it out. The girl heard him. She smiled faintly, wiping her tears. Then you are the fire. The human gave a quiet laugh, shaking his head. No, maybe you are. The mother, weak but awake. lifted her hand slowly and placed it over her daughter's. "Together," she whispered. The human felt something stir in his chest, a feeling he hadn't carried in years. Not just duty, not just survival, but hope. He walked back to the control panel and began recalibrating the ship. "The council will keep watching me, but if they come again, I'll be ready." The girl tilted her head. "Ready for what?" He looked at her with steady eyes. "Ready to break the law again if I must." Her lips curved into a small, brave smile. The storm howled louder outside, but inside the little ship, warmth remained. A human had done the unthinkable. He had given life back to an alien. And though the galaxy still called it a crime, to one little girl it was something far greater. It was a gift. She squeezed her mother's hand, then looked at him with shining eyes. "I won't forget you, not ever. One day everyone will know what you did." The human gave her a quiet nod. One day. For now the galaxy slept, unaware that a single act of forbidden kindness had already begun to reshape its future. And somewhere, deep inside that storm, hope burned brighter than fear.